Hi guys!
Hey guys,
Welcome to our
About Ukraine.
channel! Hi guys and welcome to About Ukraine!
Welcome to About Ukraine, and in this video we're gonna talk about one of the most craziest and unique areas of Kyiv.
It's on D.V.R.Z.
Sketchiest, craziest, most dangerous, hidden area of Kyiv that many people don't know about.
Maybe it's not so dangerous,
But it's pretty
and
sketchy.
Behind us it's a beautiful trees and it's cozy area with the pine trees. I spent my whole childhood here and I didn't know the history of this place, and when I started to explore I didn't know that this area has a factory and a factory about trains. I figured out a lot of interesting things about this place, and it has own history, so let's explore without this place.
There's a lot of this Eraserhead vibe with industrial buildings. Everything's industrialized. It's surrounded by this giant train yard on one side. Another side is a giant forest. Lots of dead people are probably buried. It's just bleakness everywhere.
So in 30s, this area, the whole area was a forest with pine trees, and then people started to build, maybe in 1934, they started to build first buildings for a factory.
They've also built a bunch of really cool looking buildings, like that blue building that is really in rough shape across the main street, and then they built another building, that's in disrepair right now. But it really goes to show that everything that was built was just due to this one factory. And you had this former statue of Lenin behind us. It's very, it's this Proletariat paradise, as they call it.
The people that work in this factory, they work here by generation. They love their work and they want their children to work here.
Yeah, it's a single employer, and everybody probably wanted to dream of becoming the D.V.R.Z manager. So the main D.V.R.Z office is the nicest looking building in this whole town. Surprise, surprise. We're at the main cultural center right behind me here, and it was built in the 1950s. So D.V.R.Z is an interesting little area because it emerged in 1934, and there was one master plan, and it included mostly these two-story barracks, and that's pretty much it. And then maybe one old cultural center which was here. But unfortunately a lot of buildings, including the cultural center, got destroyed during the war, right? And there was a second master plan that sort of emerged before the war, and that master plan also got abandoned. And in the 1950s, this was a third phase where they started building all the Soviet apartment blocks, all the Soviet buildings with new technologies back then. So it was like a third wave, I would say, of construction that happened. In the 1930s, there was a school built here. It was called School Number 11. And this is one of the 3 surviving schools on the left bank of Kyiv. The rest of them, unfortunately, got destroyed during the war. But this is the only pre-war school remaining here in D.V.R.Z.
These people used to have the clothes when they dry the laundry on the streets outside. It's considered to be the most dangerous area in Kyiv, but people are not worried about their clothes that they dry outside on the street.
So a barrack is basically a 1 or 2 story building that was built in the 1930s for workers of the D.V.R.Z plant. And it's a building devoid of any real creature comforts. Some of the buildings are actually have high ceilings, 12-feet ceilings. But again, only for the time probably. It was a cool setup. Now these buildings have outlived their usefulness, and many of them are in horrible disrepair. And people fixed up their own little apartment however they can, with wooden additions, maybe with insulation on the outside. In the end, you end up having a building that looks really mismatched. So back in the day, there were no street names in this entire place. You just had house numbers. So this one is 13/14. If you wanted to find out where your buddy lived, he told you, "Hey, I'm at 13/14. Come by to my place." And that's how people visited each other back then. So this street is called.
Hi.
Hello, Inžiniera Bordina.
And this is clinical hospital number 11, and it's a single hospital on this area.
60 years of treating Ukrainians in D.V.R.Z. So we were walking into the forest of D.V.R.Z. and I noticed this cemetery. It looks like a 90s cemetery of 90s criminals that came in here. They used to kill people, they used to bury people in the woods. 90s was a horrible time in D.V.R.Z. because of that. After the Soviet Union fell apart, the main D.V.R.Z. train factory started laying off workers, they stopped paying salaries, and this just brought horrible conditions to the city. People were doing drugs in the stairwells, you could find syringes there. Taxis didn't want to come here because they feared that their wheels will be stolen. That kind of thing. It was just like a very bleak town. And another thing that happened was a lot of people were found in the forests, murdered. Maybe over some kind of conflict they had with someone, or maybe it was for drugs, or maybe whatever, right? And I think we stumbled upon one of these cemeteries. But we walked up to them, and it looks like it's just a bunch of pets. It's just dogs and cats that the owners buried. Over here we have the poor old Barrack that lived between 2016 and 2021.
I remember in childhood when I walked in buildings, I remember syringes that I saw a lot amount of syringes, and it was scary. I don't consider this area like the most dangerous. I think it's normal cozy area. Of course, it was dangerous in 19th. Police just found dead bodies in lakes and so on. Of course, you can hear a lot of these stories. But I think in Kyiv, it's not a single area that is very dangerous. I can tell that the center of Kyiv is dangerous too, of course. But I consider this area as normal, like normal cozy place.
So behind me over there is D.V.R.Z. in all its glory. Now I'm going to tell you the most interesting fact about D.V.R.Z. and that is Mr. Matsenko. Mr. Matsenko was a police chief in the 1980s and 1990s in D.V.R.Z. and he's known as the lone wolf police chief. He basically could apprehend anyone, and he knew people here as well. Rumor has it that he worked so well that there was no need for patrol here in D.V.R.Z. If someone got arrested, he would personally have a tete-a-tete with them, and he would get to the bottom of it because everybody knew everybody. Another thing that he did was that if somebody got taken out of jail, he would personally go to the only employer in town, essentially, the D.V.R.Z., the factory, and he would personally get that person the job. So basically, it kind of like led to crime being like really low. But all that actually came to an end in 1990s when Soviet Union fell apart. So Irichka, can you tell me something about how it was easy or difficult to get around here? Because you stayed in one area, right? You didn't really move around?
No, I just remember it was like tram line, so it was working, but now it's not works because of this reconstruction. Of course, I could get here like by tram or by marshutka. It's I remember like from my childhood, it's like 33 marshutka. But now, of course, it's like a lot of this marshutki now, and you can get to any place and any point that you want to Kyiv. So
one interesting fact though about Darnitsky station is they built a tram depot there in 1969, and when they built that tram depot in 1969, they actually had the tram go from here all the way to Podol, to Kyiv. You know that? And
Maybe.
that was 1969 until I believe it was 2000. So after 2000 they got rid of this line. So unfortunately it was short-lived. This whole accessible DVRZ idea was very short-lived because DVRZ now is not very accessible. It's kind of cut off.
And how many years this tram line doesn't work?
Come on, almost like 20 years now. After the war, all the way until 1969, there was also no tram line. So there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed our DVRZ tour. The dangerous or not so dangerous,
Not so dangerous.
not so dangerous area of Kyiv. Okay.
Like and subscribe.
And let us know what you think of DVRZ in the comments below, or if you've been here.